It is Erev Shabbos Kodesh, Shabbos Mevorchem, Rosh Chodesh Sivan. Rosh Chodesh is going to be on Sunday. Parshas Bamidbar Chufches Iyar Tov Shem Pai Vov. My name is Gershy Schwarcz, and I'm here to bring you the news of the last 24 hours.
Your daily report of the news of the last 24 hours, powered by Yiddish24, provided to you by The Click.
Well, it's Shabbos 250 this Shabbos. It's an amazing Shabbos. It should be a Dehoibin Shabbos, you know. There's a movement going on there. Ha yom shloishu v'arbuim yom shaim shishu shaviyos v'yom echad l'oimer chesed sheba malchus. It is provided to you by The Click. The Click has told me that the system is a little bit, has a little tech issues there. So bear with them. I'll be back very, very soon. All right, now, it's not available yet in text message, only on WhatsApp, just saying. Trump says President Xi Jinping is also against Iran's nuclear weapons, and then he called Iran crazy over and over, and this more where that came from, but we'll tell you soon. Israel carried out an airstrike in Gaza just now, a short while ago, so we have to bring you this news. The strike targeted senior Hamas military leader Izz al-Din al-Haddad. I did mention him a few times here. He was a major operative, a major Hamas leader. I think they put him up as the next guy there after the Yahya Sinwar was killed. It hit a residential building in the city's Rimal neighborhood. Now, I don't want you to forget this. Israeli security officials say there are initial indications that he was actually killed, this Haddad, in the attack. He was responsible for many deaths, especially throughout the October 7th attack. Medics report that 3 people were killed so far in the bombing, so we don't yet exactly know. It was an apartment building there. The action took place despite the existing ceasefire agreement. At least 96 people died in India's dust storms and heavy rains. A man recovered his Bitcoin password after 11 years, all thanks to AI. Okay, stay tuned for more news, where that came from. But before we do that, I have to mention that this Matzah Shabbos Be'ez Hashem Yisborach is the auction. Ura's auction is happening this Matzah Shabbos. Now, if you haven't yet bought your tickets, the time is now. Chaparine, 732-719-2060. You might be able to do it still Matzah Shabbos as well. I don't know. You go on to uraauction.org for $5 a prize, and you can win. You can likely win. All right. It's worth it. It's worth it. Ura auction. Ura. Da-da-da-da-dum-dum. You know the song? All right. President Donald J. Trump finished a 2-day visit to China, where he met with President Xi Jinping in Beijing. Right after the meeting, Trump announced big business deals with China and said that they secured orders for 200 Boeing passenger planes. Yesterday I said 500. I do apologize. It was a mistake from one of the sources I received. Anyway, plus a commitment to consider American oil from Texas, Louisiana, and Alaska. He said, we're going to have Chinese ships arrive to those ports and they're going to buy oil. It's a better thing. Now they won't have to go through the Strait of Hormuz. They won't have to rely on these. He says America produces way more cleaner oil and better oil and twice as much as the Arab nations there. China also said that it will invest billions of dollars into American technology companies, but there is no deal yet for advanced NVIDIA chips, which Trump, we all know, doesn't want to give them. China's energy purchases was also part of their discussion. President Trump's visit to Beijing this week was basically marred by a serious physical standoff. An intense dispute erupted between U.S. Secret Service agents and Chinese security forces. Chinese officials attempted to stop the U.S. agents from entering the main meeting room there, specifically blocking the presidential briefcase. We all know what that briefcase entails. This quickly escalated into a physical clash over security protocols. Reports say that the White House aide was trampled during the fight. The aide was not seriously injured, although. Now, the US and Chinese officials eventually resolved the dispute. The meeting between President Trump and President Xi Jinping then went on ahead as planned. Now, during the summit, President Xi Jinping gave a blunt warning to President Trump about the possibility of a future clash and conflict between the two nations. In an interview with Fox News, Trump said that Xi Jinping also doesn't want Iran to have a nuclear weapon. He explained that Iran should make a deal, or they would get annihilated. Or all die. It will only take 1 plane and 1 minute, according to Trump. He said, quote, any sane person would make a deal, but they might be crazy. He kept saying this over and over again, that Iran is crazy. And this is exactly the reason why they should never have a nuclear weapon, because they are crazy. On China's end, Xi Jinping promised not to give military equipment to Iran anymore, but said that the Strait of Hormuz must stay open to all ships. Now let's see, is he a liar, a blatant liar like Putin is? or not, we don't know. For these two issues, China is willing to help the United States specifically for negotiations. A reporter asked President Donald J. Trump if he rejected the latest proposal from Iran and why. Trump answered, well, I looked at it, and if I don't like the first sentence, I just throw it away. A reporter asked what was the first sentence. Trump answered, an unacceptable sentence because they have fully agreed no nuclear, and if they have any nuclear of any form, I don't read the rest of it. In other words, it's an unacceptable sentence because they have fully agreed no nuclear. They didn't agree no nuclear, in other words. I'm sorry for confusing you there. A reporter interrupted and asked, so 20 years is not enough for you? It's got to be permanent? In other words, they asked for 20 years, no nuclear. Trump answered, no, 20 years is enough, but the level of guarantees from them, in other words, is got to be a real 20 years, in other words. He doesn't want them to lie. The art of the deal means you don't read past the first sentence. A reporter asked, would the US defend Taiwan if it came to a war with China? Like, if China, who would it defend? President Donald J. Trump answered, I don't want to say that. I'm not going to say that. There is only one person that knows that, and you know who it is. Me. I'm the only person. That question was asked to me today by President Xi. I said, I don't talk about that. A New York Times reporter asked, what the US would gain if it resumed bombing Iran, and asked about China offering to help end the conflict. Trump answered by calling the reporter's coverage treasonous. And he said he and the Chinese president agree Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon and the Strait of Hormuz must be reopened. But he added, we don't need any favors. A reporter asked President Trump what Chinese President Xi Jinping said about the United States during their meetings. Trump answered, he said America is the hottest country in the world. He said under Joe Biden, it was a declining country, doing really poorly. What we've done is a virtual miracle. He said way more than that. We have no open borders and the whole thing. All right. Trump said that nobody wants to take over the leadership in Iran. Since the first and second level leaders have been killed, the third level leaders do not want to take responsibility. But Trump thinks they're much more reasonable and in many ways smarter than the previous regime. According to Iran, its supreme leader Mujtaba Khamenei is now in complete health after healing from his injuries. His aide said that Khamenei's foot and lower back was slightly injured in the Israeli bombing, obviously, and that a small piece of shrapnel had hit him behind his ear, but that the wounds are healing. But he still hasn't been seen in public, so we don't know if that's true or not. Right now, the main generals heading the country are Masoud Pezeshkian, Ahmad Vahidi, Mohammad Bagher Ghalibaf, who is the parliament member, we mention him a lot here, Ali Reza Arafi, and Gholam Hossein Mohseni Ejeh, or Ejei. If you know who that is, who cares, right? Here you have them. CENTCOM Commander Admiral Brad Cooper updated lawmakers in Washington about Operation Epic Fury, or now we don't know the name. Now, he said the US destroyed much of Iran's missile and naval power and that 90% of Iran's defense industry is destroyed, so Iran cannot launch huge missile attacks anymore. But Cooper warned that Iran's military is still dangerous. CENTCOM stopped 76 commercial ships linked to Iran, including a suspected floating weapon ship, a big weapons ship that, has guns and all kind of things, near the UAE. US lawmakers failed to pass the proposed law that basically would limit Trump's war powers against Iran. So now, Israel and the US are planning possible new attacks on Iranian energy sites, but are just waiting for Trump's green light. US officials are actually worried that attacks on Iranian energy sites could raise oil prices again. And that's why we have Ring and Go. Ring and Go is here for you when you need to get yourself electronic devices. Now, I want to point out something. The reason, some of you are listening to my news, obviously, and enjoying the news. I appreciate the feedback. You can call me always on this number to leave feedback, but I just want to point out the reason why we advertise here is because, obviously, it funds and it allows me to come here every single day and prepare the hours of work. So thank you, Ring and Go, for doing that. And if you mention On Edge, you get 10% discount. See, we're giving back. So they sell amazing electronic devices, cameras, the best cameras that you could get out there in the market for really good prices. It's worth it. Try it out. 1-day delivery in the tri-state area. Call them at 347-480-7455. You can WhatsApp them again. You can scan the barcode below and go to ringandgo.us. That's ring n with an n, yeah, go.us. All right, next story. 90-year-old Palestinian Authority President Mahmoud Abbas You know who he is? Mahmoud Abbas. The president, Mahmoud Abbas, has been re-elected. Of course he was, right? He is now the chairman of the Fatah movement. During a majority vote, Abbas demanded the release of all Palestinian prisoners and funds for their pay-to-kill fund. You know what that means? They want more money to pay Palestinians to murder Jews. He has specifically named convicted terrorist Marwan Barghouti as his top priority. Barghouti became increasingly popular before he was arrested because he was a leader of demonstrations and the youth. The internationally recognized government of Yemen and the Houthi terrorists, Yamach Shumam, reached a major prisoner exchange agreement this week. They have agreed to release more than 1,600 prisoners captured during the war. This is the largest exchange since the conflict began in 2014. The Houthi group will release 580 prisoners. These captives include soldiers from Saudi Arabia and Sudan, who had been fighting on behalf of the Yemeni government coalition. In return, the Yemeni government will release 1,100 Houthi prisoners. Now, the agreement was negotiated during talks backed by the United Nations in Jordan. The Red Cross is expected to help carry out the massive swap. Benjamin Netanyahu, the Prime Minister of Israel, said that Israel now controls 60% of Gaza. The IDF issued evacuation warnings in eastern Deir al-Balah, and local military team is now working to carry out this evacuation. Israelis also preparing to stop a flotilla heading to Gaza from Turkey. We spoke about this a few times already. These 50 boats carry around 500 activists who left Turkey and include the Turkish Humanitarian Relief Foundation, IHH. They have asked Turkey to stop that, but they didn't listen. We will see how that turns out. The chief rabbi of Tzfas, now, it's a very controversial subject, this obviously, might I tell you. Rav Shmuel Eliyahu has made a call for the construction of a permanent shul on Har HaBayis. That's a little bit of a stretch. He called on the Israeli Knesset to approve this building project immediately. He stated he believes it is time for Yidden to have a dedicated place to daven on the site of the Holy Beis HaMikdash. This statement has already generated significant immediate public reaction, both outrage and of course support from different communities. I'm here to report the stories and the facts. Israel signed a $34 million deal to build external fuel tanks, which is attached to the F-35 fighter jets. Now, they carry massive bombs already, but if they carry external fuel tanks, the tanks will let the jets fly much further away and farther distances, which is very good without needing to refuel too much. The High Court in Israel rejected concerns from the Attorney General about incoming Mossad chief Roman Goffman. Roman Goffman, the Attorney General, claimed that Goffman may have tried to influence the outcome of the court petitions. These were filed against his appointment during recent meetings with Mossad officials. The High Court dismissed the concerns. Well, he's coming in. Groups of Haredi frum protesters made a mechua outside the home of Israel's military police chief. They protested the Haredi draft bill and the arrests of the draft dodgers of Bukhrim that they arrested recently with tricks like pizza delivery guys and other things that they did. Very not nice things. The Israeli government is now pushing to pass a large 5-year plan that directs hundreds of millions of shekels towards the Haredi Moister communities. This move comes, obviously, and we reported here, as the coalition tries to fast-track several major laws before the potential dissolution of the Knesset. Harav Landa ordered them to dissolve the Knesset. Reports say Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is using this spending package specifically to protect himself and encourage Haredi parties not to back out and not to back an early election date on this September. The 5-year plan mandates that 25% of the Education Ministry's construction budget must be allocated for these specific community projects. Talks for lasting agreement between Israel and Lebanon are happening right now, is still happening in Washington. Representatives from Israel and Lebanon are talking face to face. Hezbollah, Yamach Shumam, have publicly stated it is against these Washington talks. Obviously they are. This is making people in Lebanon very afraid. They worry that Hezbollah is going to escalate things and may start killing people inside the country to stop them deal with stop the deal from being finalized and stop them deal with the Zionist movement. All right, let's talk about the next part of the news. Rav Yosef Chaim Lieberman, Hashem Yimkim Dumam. Sorry, I made a mistake. I remember Lieberman from yesterday. Zechrona Levrucha passed away yesterday at age 98. He lived in Lakewood and formerly lived in Borough Park. He was a Holocaust survivor and had a connection to the generation of Torah Yidden from before the Milchama, which is amazing. It's a major deal. passed away yesterday. May the Neshama have an aliyah, and be a mitzvah for all of us. Erev Shabbos Kodesh, Chodesh Sivan. Daven for our Ge'ila, the Ge'ila Shleima. Yep, he suffered through the concentration camps. We'll talk about my grandfather's yortzeit as well. Was yesterday. I mean, they declared his yortzeit yesterday because nobody knows when he was killed. My great grandfather, the Rabbi Chul Takai, his yortzeit was Chuf Zion. That's what they declared to get along with his wife. The Satmar Rebbe of Wilhelmsburg has begun a 4-day Eastern Europe journey known as Boinei HaMelicha. Boinei HaMelicha. The Rebbe arrived by private jet. It was a major celebration outside in the streets to begleiten the Rebbe on a private plane to the Romanian city of Satmar this morning, and later visiting Sigit for L'chaim in the local shul courtyard there. At the kaiva of the Ismach Moshe, Satmar's Rebbe's Zaydus, the Rebbe was crying while davening for the children of Klal Yisrael, for the Ge'ila Shleima, and did this right before reciting, obviously, the tefillah of the Shluach Kodesh, which you can do today, by the way, is Erev Chodesh Sivan. And the Rebbe prepares to spend Shabbos in Kruka. The Beli Stefansky of MDY, his chevra, went to Morocco with all his students and Talmidim. They visited the cave of Lala Solicia, I'm not sure the name exactly, but she was basically, on the day of her yortzeit, the Daf Yomi Magachir was joined by major donors and supporters. Obviously, at the kaiva, the group prayed sincerely for all the Talmidim, all the people that learn for the MDY, obviously, and all of Klal Yisrael. She was killed, Al Kiddush Hashem, because she was killed after she refused to convert to Islam and marry a local Islamic man there. She was killed, which is why they went to the kaiva and honor her yortzeit, which was yesterday or 2 days ago. The chief rabbi of Ukraine, Reb Moshe Asman, wrote to the foreign minister. He asked the government to stop treating Israel differently than other countries. The issue is a ship loaded with Russian wheat, which Ukraine claims was stolen from territories taken by Russia. Last month, the Ukrainian foreign minister threatened to end talks if the ship docked in Haifa. Because of this threat, Israel refused to unload the cargo. The ship sailed to Turkey and is now selling the wheat there. Rabbi Asman said the Ukrainian government must now work to stop the sale to Turkey. He said that they should apply the same exact pressure they used against Israel against Turkey too. A $15 billion deal for Sazerac, I think it's pronounced that, to buy Jack Daniels was cancelled. Sazerac is owned by a Jewish gold ring family and doesn't perform, obviously, they're not religious, and they never made mechiras chumetz on Pesach. If the company bought Jack Daniels, all of that whiskey could become chumetz uvel Pesach, which is basically forbidden to drink. Because of the purchase was cancelled, Jack Daniels will not have to be removed from tables, tishn, gedaishim, tzimchas. Otherwise, it will be a major problem because a Jew owns it and they don't sell their chumetz. Two Scottish Green politicians wore pro-Palestine scarves during their oath ceremony, and critics called it an extremist political stunt. Now, the next story, a California Superior Court judge ordered the organization Cast for Kids to stop advertising. They said that the organization violated local laws against false advertising and unfair competition. People said that the charity misled donors because it didn't reveal its Orthodox Jewish mission. They said that the Cast for Kids failed to say that the donation money basically was not going to underprivileged kids in California. It was only going instead to Orthodox Jewish program in New York and in New Jersey. Hundreds of people lined the streets of Golders Green yesterday. That was a major deal, to welcome King Charles III. He visited to show his support for the local Jewish community, who are the victims of an anti-Semitic attack recently. Those of you remember the story. This included a recent ambulance fire and obviously a terrorist stabbing. Joined by Chief Rabbi Sir Ephraim Mervis, and the king personally met with Reb Moshe Schein and Reb Shlomo Round, who both were attacked. If you remember, but during the stabbing attack, both men were seriously wounded and spent time recovering in hospital from their injuries. Baruch Hashem, they're back. They're healthy. The king wanted to personally offer support and praise their bravery and miraculous survival. King Charles also walked along among local Jewish shops, received gifts, challah, and other things, and thanked volunteers from Shomrim NW London for their dedication to the neighborhood's safety. Police in Alice Springs, Australia, arrested a man for publicly showing a swastika tattoo. The 25-year-old man was officially charged for this tattoo on his leg. Anti-Semitism. I spoke yesterday about this story, and people have asked me and called me. They didn't understand why I said just for having that name he should be arrested. Well, I said it on a man who's actually an anti-Semite who wanted to poison Jewish children. So yes, I said it on him. I made a joke about his name. So you mock a person like that, at least the least I can do, I wouldn't even call him a person. He's an animal. Somebody who has just like this Dan Bella, whatever his name is, also a Nazi individual who his mission is to kill Jews. That's all he wants. He wants to kill Jews. He said he wants to run for something in Florida. He wants to run for politics. So yeah, these people need to be treated this way. So obviously I mocked him and made fun of him because he is an anti-Semite, a big anti-Semite. He basically loves Hitler. He wants to see the Jews finished. And somebody actually pointed out something, that the fact that this kid, the man I mentioned his name, should be arrested just for having that name, besides the criminal action that the crime that he wanted to commit, which is giving poison candy to Jewish children. The fact that he doesn't know anything about Jews, because he doesn't realize that Jews keep kosher. The fact that he didn't know that means that they don't know anything. They learn everything from the internet, and that's when they come and commit their crimes. The problem is education. They don't know, and the internet is poisonous to them, and that's what happened. It poisons their heads with such terrible things. Anyway, President Donald J. Trump, his Shabbos 250 proclamation officially begins tonight. Today, the proclamation calls for Americans to observe a national Jewish Shabbos from Friday evening until Motzei Shabbos Kodesh. It's Shabbos, he has to run. It is time. He's coming home from China. He's all busy now. He's like, quickly, mikveh this and that. Shabbos Kodesh, Shabbos Kodesh, Shabbos Kodesh. It's the first time a sitting U.S. president has publicly called for a national Shabbos observance. The event is part of a Jewish American Heritage Month and the 250th anniversary for the United States. Trump said people of all backgrounds can use the day of rest, prayer, reflection, and gratitude. Well, just mentioning that Goyish Shuvas Chayav Misa, so you have to be careful with that. It's very important. It's not really, they should at least turn on, switch a light on or something like that. Do drive or whatever if you're not a Yid. Trump's approval ratings are falling ahead of the US midterm elections. Many voters are unhappy about inflation, the economy, and foreign policy. Polls show Democrats are doing better in some areas. However, Republicans may still keep control of Congress because of gerrymandering. Gerrymandering is when a voting districts are changed to help one political party. Republican-led states change district maps in ways that may help Republicans win more seats, but Democrats say the new maps are unfair. Experts say they're doing the same thing, by the way, that district changes could make it harder for Democrats to win the House, even if Trump stays unpopular. Vice President J.D. Vance spoke in Bangor, Maine on Thursday, ahead of the primary elections, the midterm elections. He accused Democrats, or ahead of the primary elections, obviously, Republican side. He accused Democrats of refusing to stop fraud by voting against measures called the SAVE Act bill. Vance also specifically called out Governor Mills during the event, where hundreds of supporters waited for hours to hear him speak. Donald Trump supports this specific criticism against the Democrats. Trump often refers to Democrats as the Democrats, saying that the group is sometimes represented by low IQ individuals. The FBI is offering $200,000 rewards for information about Monica Witt, a former U.S. Air Force intelligence officer accused of spying for Iran. Now, officials say Witt escaped to Iran in 2013. There, she shared classified U.S. defense information with the Iranian government. The FBI believes she may still be helping Iran today. Israeli President Isaac Herzog cancelled his trip to New York next week. His office said, they thought, first of all, it was because of circumstances right now, because he's scared that Trump is again going to push him to pardon Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, and he doesn't want to, but his office declined that and said, no, that's not the reason he cancelled this trip. The U.S. military canceled plans to send 4,000 troops to Poland. Secretary of War Pete Hegseth made this decision because Trump wants to lower the number of American soldiers in Europe. U.S. defense officials said they were surprised by the decision. Trump's Justice Department expanded a lawsuit against Washington, D.C., the city. The legal action now targets the city's ban on gun suppressors. This adds to the existing challenge against the city's ban on big AR-15 rifle guns used for hunting. A U.S. appeals court restored a $655 million judgment against the Palestinian Authority and the PLO. The money will go to American families who were hurt and victims by the terrorism during the Second Intifada. The Trump administration is creating a new unit to deport green card holders tied to violent crimes or gangs. Senator Tom Cotton also introduced the bill against family members of terrorists living in the U.S., which is very similar to the previous one we said. Top 10 trendy Aragua gang leader named Chucky was surrendered basically from Colombia to the U.S. He faces terrorism and drug charges. The DEA is monitoring the port of Vancouver in Canada right now. Officials say chemicals of fentanyl production enter through that port. The drugs are later smuggled into the United States. They're monitoring it. Donald J. Trump may drop his $10 billion lawsuit against the Internal Revenue Services, IRS. Reports say he will end the massive lawsuit in exchange for the creation of a new $1.7 billion compensation fund. This money would be used to compensate his political allies who claim they were wrongfully targeted and obviously defamation by the current administration or the previous administration. Justice Department is reportedly considering, well, he means the Democratic side obviously, is considering the settlement, which Democrats are already condemning as a slush fund. The US Senate moved this week to stop paying lawmakers during any future government shutdowns, which is a major move. The resolution advanced with a unanimous vote, 100-0, showing agreement that senators should also feel the impact of a lapse in funding, which is an amazing thing. No pay, no play. Yesterday we reported that Kevin Warsh was confirmed as the new Federal Reserve Chair. After this announcement, Federal Reserve Governor Stephen Miran, whatever his name is, or her name is, I don't know. You see, there we go, submitted his resignation. He said he will step down right after Warsh is officially sworn into office. I'm sorry I didn't know the name, but it's okay. Let's move on, right? 3 senators want the U.S. government to invest into American lithium supplies. Lithium batteries, you know what I mean? The lawmakers want the department to invest directly into American lithium supply chains for everyday electronics and advanced military gear. They said that's a massive untapped lithium deposit is lithium deposit is sitting underground across the southern United States. The United States is sitting on liquid gold. Besides that, New York City police bulldozed more than 200 illegal scooters and motorcycles in Staten Island on Tuesday. The city is taking strong action against unregistered bikes on the streets. Police say they have seized over 5,700 illegal vehicles since the start of the year. This comes after a terrible tragedy last month, only a 10% growth in that, by the way. On April 1st, by the way, a 7-month-old baby was killed by a stray bullet in Brooklyn drive-by shooting. The shooters got away on such illegal mopeds. In other New York City news, the city is changing rules for property taxes. They lowered the starting point for a new second home tax. If you have a second home, it used to be $5 million that you have to pay extra tax. Now it went down to $1 million. Officials are also talking about adding a new tax on people who buy homes with cash. I guess Mamdani's trying all different ways to get more money. At the same time, store owners are facing new street rules. Businesses are now required to install see-through security gates instead of solid metal ones. Store owners are very unhappy with this change. They say the clear gates will cost them a lot of money to install and could actually lead to more break-ins. A 42-year-old man in Florida named Brett Blackman was found guilty of stealing $1 billion from taxpayers. He ran a massive scheme that tricked Medicare patients. Blackman used foreign call centers to push elderly people into accepting medical braces they didn't even need. He then paid doctors to write fake prescriptions without ever checking the patients. The false bills were sent straight to the government. Reports say Blackman and his wife used the stolen money to pay for a highly expensive lifestyle. Before being caught, they showed off gold chains and luxury items on the internet. He will be sentenced in August and faces up to 20 years in prison. What a way to trade gold chains for iron chains. The U.S. Department of Justice is dropping fraud charges against Indian billionaire Gautam Adani. Prosecutors say he originally planned to pay $250 million in bribes. The case is now being closed after Adani hired President Trump's personal lawyer, Robert J. someone. His legal team promised that Adani will invest $10 billion into the United States economy if the case is dismissed. Now they say this massive investment will also create 15,000 new jobs. All right. Divers found a homemade underwater bomb at the base of the Alabama Dam. This dam holds drinking water supply for an entire city. The divers apparently found the bomb while they were doing some routine maintenance on the dam. Officials in Illinois lost track of hundreds of suspects wearing ankle monitors. Officials warned that the tracking system has major flaws. So, some of the people with ankle monitors ignored violations and later committed violent crimes. Stehst. 36 countries approved plans to create a special court against Russia's invasion of Ukraine. The court will try to charge Russian leaders for the crime of aggression. Those who support the plan are European countries, Australia, Costa Rica, and the European Union. Ukraine has pushed for the court since Russia invaded in 2022, and it hopes that it will bring justice and accountability. The court is expected to focus on top Russian political and military leaders. How they will get them, I don't know. At least 96 people died after dust storms and heavy rain hit northern India. The heavy rain and lightning moved through Uttar Pradesh. I don't remember the name. I don't know the name. Anyway, in the most populated states in India. Many deaths happened because of falling trees and damaged buildings. UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer is facing a revolt inside the Labour Party. You already know this. Health Secretary Wes Streeting resigned because he lost confidence in Starmer. And Andy Berman and Angela Rayner may also challenge for leadership. In other words, they want to take over. CIA Director John Ratcliffe made a very rare trip to Havana. He gave Cuban officials a direct demand. Ratcliffe said that the United States will only talk about trade and safety if Cuban government makes real basic changes and they make concessions. He wants Cuba to share intelligence and stop protecting groups that are against the US. After the meeting, Havana let a political prisoner go free on Thursday. The pressure comes as the U.S. Justice Department gets ready to file official charges against former Cuban President Raul Castro. The charges are connected to when the Cuban government shot down U.S. planes 30 years ago. Cuba is dealing with a total breakdown of its basic system. The country's energy minister said that the island has run completely out of oil and diesel fuel. This is causing blackouts in the last 22 hours every single day, stopping hospitals from working and causing trouble among the people. Even with these terrible problems, the Cuban government today said no to a $100 million aid package from the United States that was meant to help the Cuban people in exchange for obviously these demands. They said no to it. Can you imagine? They don't care about their people. A man got back his Bitcoin wallet after losing his password for 11 years. Now, this wallet had 5 Bitcoin, which is worth about 6.5 million South African rand, which is more than 360,000 US dollars. Now, obviously 11 years ago, Bitcoin wasn't worth much. When he bought it then, it was very cheap. Now he forgot his password, but after changing it many, many years ago, now with the new technology available, he used Claude AI to help find the password. The AI checked old files through using Cowork, right, or Dispatch or Cowork. They have a section on the computer, by the way. You could just tell it to do things and it starts searching for files. He searched his old computer and found an old wallet file with a clue. The man then unlocked the wallet successfully. He said it had tried trillions of passwords before. Experts said the AI did not break Bitcoin security, obviously. They said the AI only helped search for old files and information. The story shows how AI can help solve difficult computer problems. And he made himself over $300,000. How wonderful is that, right? With AI. Sometimes AI can help you. Anyway, my friends, before I finish, obviously I want to thank my sponsors and then I want to talk about something else. If you don't mind, if you allow me. I know we're 33 minutes in. But here is the thing. Wire's Protobyte is 347-354-1237. I thank them again for being loyal sponsors, helping my show go, which is amazing. And Wire's Capital Group 718-831-2168, also for helping me. They're great investors and they help you invest. So if you want to invest, you can borrow money from them and you get a direct lending, fast approvals, 718. Check them out, 831-2168. And Arrive Express is also a very loyal sponsor, 845-622-1111, 845-254-1111. Thousands of people listen here a day. In the Yiddish version, obviously, the English version is growing and growing and growing. Baruch Hashem, we're going to get there. I want you to subscribe, please, and tell your friends about this. If you like anything, if you don't like something, let me know. I'm here to listen. I'm only trying to build a beautiful, nice program that's going to help people. If it doesn't, tell me. If it does, tell me. Yesterday, and you can call me on 845-671-1775. Press 5 to leave me a message. Okay? Yesterday, the 27th day of Iyar, which is Chov Zayin Iyar, marked the suicide of several Yidden, Hashem Yinkum Dumam, who were murdered in Auschwitz by the Nazis in Achsham. I remember my great-grandfather, Hakol Bakol Schwarcz, Hashem Yinkum Dumoy, and his wife Peril, Hashem Yinkom Duma from the city of Tokai. Reb Mechul Tokai, we called him, was a very special person. He was one of the most important chassidim of Reb Shaila Kedestira. He was so close to Reb Shaila that the Reb Shaila used to call him the Kohen Gudel of Tokai. That's what he called him. He was also known for pressing grapes every year with a minyan of men who went to the mikveh just to make pure wine for the Belzer Rebbe's 4 cups on Pesach. This is an interesting story, but his true greatness showed at the very, very end. In the spring of 1944, the Nazis in Shomrim forced the Jews of Tokai into the cattle cars for a terrible trip to the end, to Auschwitz. During that train ride, Reb Mechul Tokai gathered his whole family together, and he told them that they need to be happy because they were going to be fulfilling a great mitzvah of making a Kiddush Hashem. Actually, my great aunt Rivka, who passed away beginning of last week, I think it was, they arrived to Auschwitz on the morning of Shabbos, and she mentioned this as well, that she was there, but she was Baruch Hashem saved, obviously, together with my grandfather, who was saved. And they remember him standing in the lines, obviously, rechts, links, rechts, he went links, and he held up his tefillin, and he showed my grandfather to take it, but if he would have done that, my grandfather would have done that, he probably would have been killed because there was a Nazi sitting there. But one officer looked at my grandfather, or I think he was one of the Gestapo, told my grandfather, his grandson, he was his grandson, my grandfather, my great-great-grandfather. Anyways, the point is he told him to stay and not to go over there, not to take the tefillin because he's going to get himself killed and many others. So he didn't. He felt so bad until his last day. My grandfather remembered this, but obviously during the war he had a major story there where he came into his dream, and he actually saved his life by something that he told him, that he was very sick with the typhoon, with this typhus disease, excuse me, and he gave him a remedy. He told him to take. He was working in the kitchen, so he told him take a brick from the oven, underneath the oven, and put it on your chest with a wet rag if you can. He worked in the kitchen, my grandfather, in Auschwitz, and so he told him to take that and put it on his chest, and he'll wake up feeling fine. He did exactly that, and he actually woke up feeling much better, which was a major miracle then. It's a story that he wrote, and actually he felt like, okay, this was kind of he felt bad because he didn't take his tefillin, but he was anyway sent to be killed, and it was very, very sad. And it happened on this day because this is the day that they left, and the Nazis took them away. So let's remember the names: Mrs. Rebbetzin Malka Schwarcz and her children, Yeshaya, Ruchel, Yita Malia, Laya Yehudis, and Miriam, and also Mrs. Chana Gittel Roth and her children, Dov Gedalia, Ruchel, and Mordechai Yitzchak. All Hashem Yugadoma, all of them were killed by the Nazis in Shomrim NW. And in that light, may Hashem help us all to go into Shabbos Kodesh. Shabbos, skip Shabbos, let's clean up all that mess, like Trump said. And that's our news roundup for the day. Have yourself a wonderful Shabbos.
Your daily report of the news of the last 24 hours, powered by Yiddish24, provided to you by The Click.